My name is Dan Hirshon, and I live in New York now, but I moved around a bit when I was growing up and eventually settled in Boston, which is where I started stand-up comedy. Before that, I was playing in some bands and doing a little bit of public speaking, and that kind of inspired me to get into stand-up. I'm nervous in front of everybody, off stage and on stage. So I was still nervous, but I had a little bit of experience, and I like performing and getting in front of people um, and telling jokes. I was with a youth group, and my job was just to read the minutes back. And so I added a lot of jokes to it and roasted people and added that element. So I was kind of like doing stand up. Um, and then with the bands, I played trumpet and saxophone in a hardcore punk band, and so my musical ability wasn't really necessary. So it was more a lot of dancing around and acting crazy and getting people involved, and I was more of a cheerleader in that aspect. And in senior year of high school, I entered the male pageant for the school and won that, just basically joking around the whole time. Um, Basically doing a whole comedy act and comedy routine with that. Um, and so that all worked together. And then when I moved to Boston, there was finally comedy clubs available for me to perform at. And I stumbled on an open mic, Dick Doherty's Comedy Club. I asked them how to get involved. They said, just call Tuesday. I called Tuesday. They're like, just come in Sunday. And I wrote up 5 minutes, practiced in front of a couple of my friends, and then just started from there. And from there, you just meet other comics who kind of introduce you to their comics and different shows. And it's such a tight scene in Boston that it was real easy to get to know everybody and spread out and go from there. It's pretty nerve wracking. I didn't want anybody to show up, but they made me bring two people. And then when I told one person, they told six or seven more. So I had a bunch of friends there that I didn't really want there, but they were supportive. And so it was nerve wracking. But once I got on stage, all the nerves helped out and helped me just stay excited and stay energetic on stage. And it went pretty well. I remember seeing Dana Carvey's comedy special on Comedy Central, and I remember really loving that and quoting that a lot amongst friends. So that might have been one of my stand-up comedy influences. But I've always liked all kinds of comedy. My dad kind of raised me on Woody Allen, so apparently, I guess it is becoming a breeding ground for comedians with Josh Gondelman and Mike Kaplan and MC Mr. Napkins. And at the time, I didn't know. I think a lot of us were just starting out, or some of us hadn't even started at that point. So when I was there, it wasn't a bunch of. We didn't have like a stand-up comedy club or anything like that. Um, but I was doing some stand-up in the coffee house there, and getting to perform with all kind of variety shows with bands and a cappella groups and dance teams and things like that. And so I got a lot of stage time that way. And people book you, just because it was like a different kind of act. So I got to do it a lot then. And then I was performing around Boston as well at the time. But yeah, Brandeis is like a kind of a breeding ground for comedy. They had three improv groups and a sketch group, and a lot of neurotic Jews who just feel the need to express themselves and kind of explain why they're so crazy in the head, I guess. I think it helps. I think it adds the element of uh, the market is very saturated, I feel like. And so, you have to work on promoting your videos and your act online as well, in addition to just promoting your act in general. And I think making it different, making it stand out, making it more unique so that people are going to keep watching it or, tune into it in the first place. I guess like it gives you a little bit more hope. It makes things easier because I could potentially, record my stand up right here in my living room, or at least record sketches and promote, my comedy right out of my room, and I don't even have to go out into the clubs And so that's helpful, and that's like a nice to know kind of thing that I don't have to constantly just go out on the road. It's frustrating when I'm doing comedy sketches and I put them online and it gets like 3 hits, and then I see just some kid recorded themselves dancing and singing, and the sound is bad and their video is terrible, and it's just like annoying singing, and that gets millions of hits. And I've tried experimenting and catering at that and vice versa, but it's frustrating, but you deal with it, and in a way it's like the same thing as it always was. I mean, if you're a comedian, then you have to deal with the funny guy who thinks he's funny in the office, and then everyone else is in the office might be like, oh, that guy's hilarious. I don't know why he's not doing comedy and you are doing comedy because you're so quiet around the office. So it's just like that, except it's online. So you just you keep doing it, you keep putting out videos, you keep working on your stuff and improving upon it, and don't focus on what other people are doing so much. Yeah, I've worked in a bunch of offices where they're just like, oh, say something funny, or why are you so quiet? I don't understand how you can do comedy and be so quiet, and that kind of thing. And I finally work in an office where, now that I'm in New York, it's a little bit easier because there's a lot of actors and writers and people also working in the office. This is also their kind of side job, and so people are starting to understand, and they don't really give me such a hard time about it. But when I was working in insurance up in Massachusetts, people just didn't understand why I was so quiet and full out of pressure. And I don't usually tell people immediately that I do comedy; it just kind of like leaks its way out. And how come you never hang out ever? I do comedy at night. You do comedy, and then it's downhill from there. But